Myth of Empires. Tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern tonight, the alpha goes live, and I was lucky enough to be invited to it. So twitch.tv/Oathbound Gaming. If you look down in the description below the video, you will find the link there if you rather not type that in. I hope you will join me tonight to see what Myth of Empires is all about. You haven't heard of Myth of Empires, though, have you? You haven't even heard of it yet? Don't worry. We're going to read up on it together right now in this video, see what it's all about, the general description of Myth of Empires, and then we're going to go into the alpha detailed information that was released today that they provided me in a nice little Word document. I'm going to read it off to you so you guys can know what this alpha is all about, what we're getting ourselves into tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll go from there. So just a little intro. I know I'm late to the intro. My name is Greg. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you throw us a follow, subscribe, upvote, whatever the heck you want to do here at YouTube. Always appreciate that. I hope you enjoy this type of content because we have a heck of a lot more coming up. So without further ado, let's get started here. Let's read a little bit about Myth of Empires. Only the strong survive, baby. Taking place in the 3rd century on the eastern continent, Myth of Empires presents a cruel and brutal era ravaged by the chaos of war. You'll need to fight off hunger and brave the elements if you hope to survive. A true sandbox experience. Ooh, I like that. Explore an immersive and expansive world in which you'll collect resources and utilize your creativity and imagination to build your very own empire. Recruit NPCs through peaceful and violent means, and turn them into your own followers. Have them collect resources and craft them into materials for you. Or use them as your own personal army. That's cool. So detailed, varied combat. Myth of Empires features a robust combat system. You'll need to cultivate and utilize a deep understanding of the game's different soldiers' roles, weapons, and siege engines, as well as cooperate with other players in order to claim victory on massive battlefields. Craft the weapons and armor you will use to dominate your enemies. So you can build a castle, and you can get it, people can siege you, you can siege them. Build yourself an empire, or destroy someone else's. I can't wait. Raise and train mounts. Find horses in the wild and train and breed them. Fill your stables with horses for your armies to ride into battle. Breed faster and more powerful horses and build an unstoppable cavalry force. Unite and strategize. Becoming a mere warrior is not enough to achieve greatness in Myth of Empires. Seek out skilled assistance and work with other players to defeat common enemies and capture their counties and regions. Building and expanding a powerful empire will test your strategic and leadership abilities. Sounds like a good game for a guild, right? We're recruiting, by the way. Throw a link down there if you want to join us for quite a few upcoming MMOs. Look out for those videos, by the way. I got in some other tests that I'll be doing. I'll show you guys. Rebuild a thriving world. In addition to all the different combat roles a character can take on, there's also a variety of different professions and activities to develop, including planting, forging, cooking, livestock farming, and hunting. Players must work together to provide the resources a growing empire needs. Sounds pretty good, no? And the combat looks amazing. Looks quite good. Mount and Blade combat, I love it. If any of you have ever heard of a game called War of the Roses, it's dead. The servers are gone now. Favorite multiplayer versus game of all time. A lot of mounted combat, sword and shield stuff. Loved it. Kind of chivalry-like. Love those type of games. My favorite type of combat. Super excited to get into this. But that's the end of the general Myth of Empires rundown. We're going to get into the alpha test. Basic info is what they're calling it. They sent me a documentation. I already confirmed that there's no NDA on that. I'm allowed to share this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so you guys can be on par with me and know what we're getting ourselves into tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. We're going to be there together. All right. So hello, alpha testers. Thank you for taking part in the Myth of Empires global closed alpha test. Prior to the test, we held a couple of minor closed tests, during which time we collected some key questions. Here are the answers to these questions in advance, so you'll have this knowledge going into the game. Please note that this list is not intended to preclude or prevent you from submitting bug reports and feedback. We're very excited to receive your feedback. It will help make the game better. Love to see that. You guys know I'm big on indie developers here providing feedback because they're much more likely to take that to heart, than AAA devs. They kind of just blow you off. I've been trying to tweet at Blizzard for like freaking 3 weeks now. Some of you might have seen it. They blow me off. They ignore me. They don't care. AAA companies, they get a little too big to give the little guy a little time, a little attention. So I really do appreciate when developers actually come out and say, we want the feedback, please. And they've already answered some of my questions in the Discord already, so props to them. Cool stuff. So about the test version. The version of the game used for the global alpha test tonight is a relatively stable early version of the game. In order to ensure a smoother gaming experience, the gameplay features and content in the test version have been pared back a bit. The development version is further along, and there'll be even more content to explore during future tests. As such, this test version does not represent the current development progress of the game and does not represent the final product. So they purposely pulled some features out and said, hey, this is what you're going to get, a smaller version of the content. We want you to test this first. And it makes sense, especially from like a testing standpoint, rather than, here's the whole game, test everything. It's like, hey, give us feedback on this. We expand a little bit, get a little bit more feedback on that, expand a bit more. Makes sense. Plus, sometimes they want to hold their cards close to their chest, right? They don't want to throw everything out there right away. So game optimizations. As this is an early alpha test, there are many places that aren't optimized. You may experience frame rate and graphical issues, problems with server performance, high ping, etc. Optimizations, if I can talk, to general issues like these are being made to the development versions of the game and will be included in later versions. Actions and animations. Actions and animations are in the process of being optimized in the development version of the game. We have used motion capture technology to capture the movements of real-life horses, but it takes time to apply these to in-game animations, so these are still being perfected. Smoother animations will be incorporated into future versions of the game. User interface. The current user interface may be unintuitive and ugly in places. It is functional, but not perfect, and major improvements and changes will be made to it in the future versions. I'm learning, alright? I'm learning how to read. Localization. The alpha version only supports English and simplified Chinese. Additional languages will be added in the future. The English text is in a very early state, and as such you may see text runoff and overlapping. This is being improved. Terms may also be changed for later test versions and the final version of the game. And then guild member limits. I thought this one was interesting. For the alpha test, member limits for the guild are relatively low. Makes sense, the population is not going to be huge. In future versions, we plan to increase this to 200 to 250 members. I like that. That's quite a hefty amount of people, and then you could always have guild alliances and such. So, game's going to support quite a lot of people if they're looking at numbers like that. But anyway, moving on. However, there will still also be a threshold for contributions to the guild to ensure that guilds don't grow too quickly due to having a ton of members. In this test version of the game, there only needs to be one member in a guild to merge with another guild. The guild merge function will be optimized in future versions. That's pretty interesting, that 2 players can be a guild, or maybe 20 players, 10 and 10, and they're like, hey, we get along, we play around the same hours, you guys want to just merge and create a new guild name? That's pretty cool. I like to see that's an option, a system to make that easy, because too many times in games, it's like, you got guild banks and stuff, it becomes a mess to try to merge them, so cool feature. Weather system skylighting effects. During the alpha test, day may be too bright at times, and night may be too dark. Additionally, it may rain a lot. The weather system is being improved upon in the development version and will provide a better experience in future tests. Cool. Novice Guide. The current Novice Guide isn't as detailed or as logically sequenced as we'd like it to be. This will be revamped to future versions of the game and to make the game easier for players who are new to this genre. Game world and richness of content. The current alpha version can be seen as a vertical slice of the game. Horizontally speaking, more content will be filled in for later versions. For this test, about 30% of the game's map is available, and only part of the gameplay content is available. In later versions, more of the map will be available. Makes sense? That's like, we're talking, 30% of the actual game's map is going to be available for this one. Makes sense. A variety of new environments, landforms will be added, as well as more animals, plants, minerals, NPCs, instances, and treasures. We will also add more structures, furniture, tools, weapons, equipment, and more. Game systems will also be more fully fleshed out, such as the Art of War system, talent, strategy, and more. Numerical values. So, hunger. Hunger and fullness values will be adjusted in future versions, and visual effects of these systems will also be optimized. Attributes, weapon and armor attributes will be balanced in later versions, making them more intuitive and differentiated. Experience, the speed at which experience is acquired and talents are upgraded will be adjusted in future versions. My question here is, does that mean more experience right now, like faster for this test, or less? That's going to be a question for the devs. I'm going to ask them that. Resources, crafting, and construction. Resources will be optimized and improved in later versions. Some example, resources like coal will be added to the game. In the alpha test, some items may take too long to craft, and in the future, the NPC crafting system will be improved to reduce the sometimes onerous nature of crafting and allow for more efficient item crafting. NPC cavalry and infantry functions will be more fully developed and fleshed out. The weight of items, construction speed, construction resources, durability, and attack of siege weapons will all be optimized. Structure durability values and differentiation will also be improved based on the results of this test. I love that. Based off the results of this test. That means they're going to listen. They're going to take the feedback. I love that in MMOs. I hate when you have a New World situation where everyone's like, we hate this. Don't make this change. Shut up, everyone in the community. Stop telling us you dislike this. This is what we want to do. That's what New World did, and it didn't turn out well for them. And I'm pretty sure that the future sting and burn of that is still to come. But enough about New World. We still got a little bit left of this. Not too much left, I promise. Warrior and horse limit. Later versions will see adjustments to these limits, and players will also be able to transfer warriors and horses using certain methods. Since taming is such a major part of the game, it will also be subject to major improvements for later versions that we did not have time to incorporate for this alpha test. Streamer features. We plan to incorporate settings that will make streaming the game more convenient for content creators such as chat, voice, custom icon, player name, and blood toggles. There are a very basic set of streaming-related features that can be tested out in the current alpha version of the game. I'll take a look, sure. Controls and operations. Optimizations are continuously being made to the game's controls in the development version of the game. In the alpha version, controls may be unintuitive in places. In future versions, we will add features such as holding E to continuously collect grass, structure parts will have multiple anchor points, and more ways to connect with one another. And the terrain adaptability of structures will be improved as well. PvP and PvE server transfer. In the alpha version, there is no restrictions on the transfer of materials between different servers. In future versions of the game, we will set some rules to restrict players from moving materials back and forth between PvE and PvP servers at will. That is huge. So I don't really... I hate to say I don't care about what they're talking about the current alpha test. I do, but you definitely should be able to take a lot away from that by saying... They're just telling you that you can go to other servers. You can invade other servers where other players might have a foothold in. They might have their base and their structures there. You can invade other servers, kick the crap out of them, bring some stuff back to your server. But for the test, they're going to say, hey, between PvP and PvE, don't worry about it. You can do whatever you want. I get that, and I get why that's going to be a problem in the actual real game, and I'm glad they're saying this now, that there's going to be restrictions between PvE and PvP servers, because obviously it's like playing... I don't know, on a PvE WoW server, leveling up, completely safe, never having to worry about being ganked, and then switching to PvP server once you're crazy strong, then you can, run rampant and make everyone else's leveling experience miserable. Well, no. You have to tough it out, you got to get those materials on the PvP server to be able to use them on the PvP server. I like that. So nice job, Myth of Empires devs. Will the game be a grind? Myth of Empires will allow you to use NPCs, tools, and structures to protect your hard-earned progress while you're offline. So if I go to raid your base, and you have 15 archers and 10 berserkers, and we're like, these guys prepared quite well for their offline defense, you might be okay. That might kill us and keep us from raiding your stuff. Cool. Like that. That's cool too. There will also be a home protection function so that players won't feel pressured to spend too much time online. As for crafting and resource collection, NPCs can be used to perform these actions for you, so you won't need to spend all your time grinding away, and you can spend more time having fun. In other words, killing each other. The above are some of the core issues we've experienced in internal tests, as well as smaller pre-alpha tests. This is not a comprehensive list, and there are many more optimizations, issues, and bugs that are being worked on as well. Please understand that this is an alpha test, and you're sure to encounter issues. Please provide feedback and bug reports in the relevant Discord channels. This will help us make the necessary improvements to the game. Thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy Myth of Empires. Well, guys, I hope you liked that very detailed alpha test information that was provided to the alpha testers, so you guys can understand what they're giving us, what they want us to test, and what are the potential issues they already know about, and what adjustments are going to be made for the future. So I hope you guys are excited as I am. Well, shut up for a second. before I close out this video, I happen to come across some more stuff that I think everyone's going to want to hear. I thought I was done recording, but I'm here to deliver some more content before we do that. Found an interesting bit of information called the Dev Q&A event. There are some awesome questions here that I definitely want to get across to you guys. I'm going to probably learn some stuff with you guys as I read this, because I have not read this before this video right here. So, let's see this. Let's do this together. Is the world completely open world with no instancing? And how many players do you expect to have per server? Also, if you had to compare your game to another popular survival game, Ark, Atlas, Last Oasis, Life is Feudal, etc., what would it be and why? Great question. So, Myth of Empires isn't a seamless open world, but one connected by countless parallel worlds. Each individual server, in the initial early access version of the game, will be able to support up to 100 players, but we are planning to upgrade the server technology after that. I think everyone will be pleasantly surprised as the game grows during early access. Our game is fundamentally different from other more traditional sandbox games. Most sandbox games will have individual servers as well as private servers, with the occasional cross-server feature. In our game, each server has its own spot on the open world map. You can think of them as counties. Establishing a power on your server is just the first step toward conquering the game's worlds. The next step is to conquer the neighboring counties, or forge alliances with them to become a governor. At this point, you'll wage wars with other governors in your quest to achieve even greater glory, I'm guessing is what they mean. In other games, you're mostly limited to conquering or eliminating rival factions. In other words, defeating them. In our game, you have the option, of course, but you'll be able to form alliances with them. The game encourages players to build larger groups as opposed to simply eliminating one opponent so you can take on a slightly stronger one. The gameplay is also very deep, with rich skill and talent systems to let players create the characters they want. The follower system in the game will allow players to raise followers with different abilities. And you can create your army, obviously. This game's about creating, vast armies, and they could be NPC armies. And you can raise the followers to be different, This cavalry unit will be different than this cavalry unit. I like that. How will you bridge the gap for small groups and large groups? How will you bridge the gap for small groups and large groups can coexist? The wording's a little weird on that, but, so small guilds and large guilds can still play together. Okay, our game encourages players to conquer rivals and form alliances until a tribe is large enough to support the whole server. It can still find itself at a disadvantage against other forces. Small tribes and scattered players make a server more lively, which increases the resources production. Additionally, there is much to be gained from fighting against forces from other regions. It is in the player's best interest to unite, so they can fend off these external threats and get rewarded from it. Interesting. There'll be tech tree to all class. Myth of Empires does not have classes per se. What it has instead is a skill system in which you level up skills by using them, thus building your character and differentiating it from others. Okay, so I guess if you're an archer, like Skyrim, in a way, you use your bow skill goes up, you use two-handed swords goes up. I don't know if it'll be like two-handed weapons or two-handed swords, two-handed hammers, two-handed axe, maybe it's, that in depth. I don't know. Is there an alliance system and or rank system to give people within a clan different rights? And about the horse taming, can we expect to tame and breed other animals as well? Myth of Empires has a rich guild and alliance system. This system is based upon the ancient Chinese vassal system, with alliance and betrayal mechanics. As for animals, we currently only plan to have animals that played a role in ancient warfare. In addition to horses, there may be elephants in the future. Of course, raising followers will also be a big part of the game. Will there be terraforming, and can you elaborate on why or how? There is currently no terrain alteration mechanic. I actually prefer that. I dug holes in Life is Feudal for about 8 hours and then quit. I don't want to do that again. Will you be able to raid enemies at any time of the day, or will there be offline timers when you can't attack, or some sort of declare war function that you have to do before fighting? There will be limitations on raiding, as there will be a set of rules regarding when raids can be conducted. They cannot be conducted 24 hours a day. I'm a little torn on that. So you can't just go destroy someone's keep 24 hours a day, like while they're sleeping. But previously, I answered some of the questions where you can have like followers defend your keep when you're offline. So there's already a system to kind of defend your keep when you're not there. But then they have the system where it's like, oh, they can't attack it anyway when you're offline. Kind of weird. And obviously, they'll be able to attack it if you're offline, if it's during like the siege hours and you just happen to not show up. I don't know who would do that, but maybe, you know, something happens and it really can't be on. They'd still have their NPCs there to defend it. I imagine the NPCs are not going to be as good as real players, so you might still end up losing it in that case. But I could take it. You know, it can't be conducted 24 hours a day. Okay. I could take it or leave it. I'd like to see how it plays out. I don't really have much of a solid opinion one way or the other on that system until we get in game and see it play out. But that's what feedback is for, right? So, is there protocols in place to keep Zergs from just joining a server, capping the server, and claiming it? Will there be restrictions on how many in a guild and alliance can be in a server? Are towns and city ownership decided in open world combat, or do battles take place in an instance? Ownership of the map is determined through in-world battles. Cool. The battles themselves are designed to be fair, though these battles are waged with resources that have been accumulated over time. This means that even before a battle has started, a war of attrition has effectively already begun. How much PvE content will you have at the early access release, like dungeons, quests, trading, world events? There is a large 64 square kilometers in size for players to explore. A large world, 64 square kilometers in size for players to explore. In addition to the various beasts you may encounter in the wild, there are also 5 large NPC factions that have claimed important resource points for themselves. Players will need to defeat them in order to get their resources, though this will build up enmity, like hate, with those NPCs. Once you've made an NPC faction angry enough, they will begin to attack your territory. Very cool. The world map is also littered with treasure and caves to explore. Defeat the elite bosses inside, or force them to submit and make them one of your followers. Very cool. How are mountains, lakes, and obstacles going to be playing in the world? Are they going to be just for aesthetics, or will they actually pose to be an obstacle for logistics or even defensive or offensive purposes? Will we be able to form bases on mountains or in lakes? The different geographical elements of the map are not simply there for scenery. Like other sandbox games, you'll be able to construct your base on almost any part of the map and use the geography to your advantage. Currently, the game does not have a complex animal ecosystem. You'll sometimes come across carnivores attacking herbivores, but the main dynamic element of the world is the interaction between various forces, both player and NPC. Will the game... Some missing words in the questions. Will the game have some anti-cheat system? How do you deal and prevent with cheaters and item duplication? I hate cheaters and hackers and all that stuff, so good question. Many of the members of our team have over a decade of experience developing MMOs, and copying items is something we've had a lot of experience dealing with. The best way to handle such issues, we found, is to have all the important info saved server-side. It's like MMO development 101. Is there an open character design option, like female characters' face design? We aim to provide a lot of freedom in the face creation system. Both characters' faces and bodies will have dozens of adjustable sliders and options. Players can make their characters thin, or large, weak, or muscular. They can also add scars and tattoos. We planned countless options, though for the time being, only a few are available. Of course, if players have any popular requests, those can be added in later. As far as the NPC population limit, one may be implemented to ensure servers are performing smoothly. How much survival are there in the game? Is there in the game? The survival aspect of the game isn't the major focus when the other aspects are considered. Players will mostly feel the pressure to survive early on in the game. The main goal is in the mid to late stages is not personal survival, but a kind of arms race. It is easy to feed yourself, but it takes more work to feed your NPC followers and horses. Establishing an efficient chain of production to ensure your war machine runs smoothly is more important at that stage. Oh, this is a long question. How big level can be reached by player? So, what's the level cap? How long player have to play to reach maximum level? Okay, how long does it take you to get to the max level? Do you plan to use dedicated character classes in-game? How does the construction system look like? How long will players have to collect resources to reach the highest level of structures? Will it be possible to destroy all enemy structures and leave players with no resources or any structures? In short, burn everything to the ground. Currently, the level cap is level 60. What is with everything doing 60? Classic WoW? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like everything hits 60. I'm not against it. It's just funny that all these games seem to be doing 60. It would take about 3 months. It would take about 3 months to reach a level cap as it is. You know what? Challenge accepted. 3 months? I'm going to do it in 2 months and like 29 days or whatever months. 1 day before the 3-month cap. I might challenge that one day. If I'm really enjoying this game, I'm going to challenge that 3-month thing. Watch. So there are no preset classes in the game. You can train your character by leveling up their skills and by acquiring perks. The construction system is similar to other sandbox games, but with features adjusted to match the background of the game. You can raise enemy buildings to the ground, though it will take time and resources to do so. Will terrain be editable? Will we be able to make custom clan banners? Can we build villages to house NPCs? Can we make alliances, or will it be up to players to do without an in-game system? Will we be able to put people in prisons? The terrain cannot currently be altered. There is a high degree of freedom when it comes to customizing your flag. Both horse and human NPCs can be raised and improved, and the system for this is very deep. NPCs have the same skill tree as the players, and they can be trained to become experts according to the role you need them to fill. Will we be able to build the Great Wall of China? You can certainly build great walls. Cool. Woo! Alright, back to you, other Greg, other Neck Rage. Let's close this video out. I'm obviously very excited, otherwise I wouldn't have made this video. I wouldn't have gone out of my way to read all of that. I need a drink after all that. But I'm excited for this. I really like the way Myth of Empires looks, I like the way it sounds, and I'm super excited to get into this tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. I gotta plug that again. You will be there, I hope. Hope I see some of you guys there, some of you regulars at least, and maybe some of you new guys. I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can while playing, and if you have any sort of tips, tricks, that's like, hey, you know, let's go check this out. Can you try this? Can you try that? I'd like to see how that works. Let's do it. Let's test everything. Let's all learn about this game together, and we can provide our feedback, what we dislike, what we like about the game, and what should be adjusted. So I'm really looking forward to it. I really appreciate you guys tuning in for this long video, and as always, if you like the content, please consider subscribing, throwing us a like and all that. Social media channels are all below if you're into that. Twitch, you can join us there obviously tonight, and hopefully for all of the future streams. Have a lot of MMOs coming up, ones that aren't out yet, beta test stuff, alpha test stuff for MMOs. I'm not going to release some of that information just yet, but I hope some of you guys will join us for those MMOs, either as a viewer or as a guild member. Definitely look forward to grouping with some of you guys. I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, skedat!